So I'm really excited to share this tool because it's a little bit different than things I've done in the past. It's going to take the concept of entity SEO, which I constantly hear a lot about, but have never really understood how to actually use the concept in practice. So it's going to take that concept and actually allow us to find opportunities and identify areas of opportunity all in one fell swoop. So here's what the output is going to look like. You'll have your various inputs. So for this example, I use this as the client page. It's not an actual client of mine. I was just using it as an example. Then you have a list of competitive pages. These are supposed to be the ones in the search results that you're trying to outrank or that you're competing with, right? So you have your input page, your competitive pages. From there, it will identify entities. It will actually scrape each of the pages. So scrape the client page and scrape the competitive pages. And it'll identify entities using the Google Natural Language Processing API to identify the entities of the page and use this value called salience to say like how important is the entity to the text of the page. So you get this information and we funnel that into an AI and say, okay, here are the list of entities that exist across the competitive pages on at least two of the competitive pages that do not exist on our page. And based on the list of entities that we see there, the ones that are missing, based on those missing entities and other contexts like how many competitors are showing up and what is the average salience score when looking at the various competitors, it decides the top 10 entities that are missing from our current page that we should try to target. So from there, we have these various entities and we have these things called mentions. These mentions are sometimes the exact match for the entity, but it's also sometimes related keywords. So these are other keywords that kind of relate back up to the entity itself. So using those related keywords give more emphasis to that entity. So we have the instances, how many times it's appearing, how many different pages it appeared on. So it's saying that this mention of search terms showed up on both of these competitive pages. So we have all of that information. And then it takes it one step further. For each of the 10 opportunities, it goes in and provides recommendations. So it looks at the client page and it gives you very specific recommendations around, introduce the concept of search terms, yada, 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 gives you the related keywords that could be helpful. So those are things that relate back to the entity. And it gives you a few examples of, how you could do it, some placement ideas, some explanation, and then it goes into the next opportunity and talks about using this in the body. So that was just talking about using it in the intro. Now we're talking about using it within the body of the page. Now we're talking about using it within the conclusion of the page. So that's what we end up seeing here is that it takes each of those 10 entities, which are the ones that were missing from our client's page and were identified as potentially being the most valuable ones that we should try to integrate. You get all that data, and then you have this right here, which gives you ideas about how to actually go about integrating this stuff into the page. So I'll do a little example here. I'll use the keyword of entity SEO since that's what we're talking about right now anyways, right? A few competitive URLs. Usually I like doing at least 3, up to 5. Any more than 5, it's probably a little bit overkill. So let's do 4. And let's find a page that's just not ranking as well. Like let's go to page 2. Sure, let's do a Neil Patel page. Always a good time. So you put those pages in, and then once those are all added, you'll hit Run Generator. That will start the job. You'll start seeing progress updates right here, and I will cut to when this is done. It will take a minute or two to actually run. So that's done running. You see right here, it took 59 seconds to finish running. I can open up the result and I'll see a result just like the example we were looking at before, where we have our inputs, our target entities. And if we keep scrolling down, we have details on each of the target entities. It's pretty interesting to see like same as, so that's for like schema markup inclusions and different items like that. Lastly, you could also look at the steps just if you're interested. So this actually includes all of the steps taken in the back end. So you see we provide that initial message. It gets the page data, so it actually just parses it back out to this kind of structure. It gets the entities, so you can see, you come in here, you see all the different entities. that show up and the actual source data along with it. You can see the missing entities, which is similar to what we were just looking at, but it's only the missing ones. You see the recommendation. So this was the structured recommendations we ended up using. And lastly, you see the final result right here, which is rendered into a more user-friendly form when you're looking at it right here. The last thing, you could, of course, either take screenshot, you could copy that, which is going to copy the markdown self, or you could export it, which will export it to a Word document. So you could just take that, load it up into something like Google Docs and work on it from there. I think that's about it. So again, you come in, entity opportunity generator, or whatever it happens to be called at the time of watching. It might change in the future. And then you add client page, the list of competitive URLs, run the job, takes about a minute to finish, and you'll be good to go.